And good morning, everybody, and welcome to SBN College Football Saturdays. And so we have a new revamped schedule for the show. So SEC wraparound is more like what our game picks for the SEC picks are going to be. So to begin with today, we have Derek here. He's going to talk more about Auburn today. And then after that, we've got State of College Football, which was recorded last night. That'll be me and Jack talking about whatever we've seen from college football throughout the season so far. And then we've got a lot more after that. So you want to stick around. Got a great show coming up. So we're going to start out today talking about we got 3 questions. So, Derek, our first one is, what was the final score of the 2019 Auburn LSU game? So is there anything to add on that?
It was closer than the Alabama LSU game was that year.
All right. And then our next one, what year was Auburn Stadium built? So is there anything to add right there, Derek?
It's the 20th century.
All right. Then, finally, with the Auburn game coming up today, it has to do with that, but who leads the Auburn-Georgia series? Derek, anything to add?
I don't want to give anything away, so no.
All right. So now, let's get into Auburn a little bit. So Derek, last week Auburn played Texas A&M. What did you see from that game? And so anything before that game also? Anything to recap for Auburn this so far?
Pretty much Auburn's offense is doing terrible. Auburn's defense is doing pretty great. Auburn held Texas A&M to 24 points. I can't remember how many points Texas A&M got the first half. It was like 7 points or something. But Auburn's offense, I could point out about 100 things, because it was terrible. Because I'll just do the first 3 I can do. First, Auburn has to get a new quarterback. Second, in case Auburn can't have a rush game going good, they are going to be in trouble. And third, Auburn has to throw to the wide receivers. In case the wide receivers get the ball thrown to them, they can't let the ball hit their chest and not catch it. That's the main thing I've been seeing. And Peyton Thorne has thrown 3 interceptions this year, and while Georgia's quarterback has only thrown 1. Carson Beck has only thrown 1 interception this year. So that's one annoying thing for me. Auburn they shouldn't be throwing as many picks. And I don't know in case y'all watched, any of y'all watched the Auburn game, but there's this one play where Auburn was running the play. It was like a shovel pass. So Peyton Thorne snapped the ball, and Damari Alston, I think is his name, he ran to the side, and Peyton Thorne tossed it to him, and shovel passed it to him, and Damari Alston didn't catch it, and Texas A&M took it back for a touchdown. But they went back and reviewed it, and actually Peyton Thorne had thrown it in front of the line, and Damari Alston didn't get enough control where they could where he had control of the ball and didn't get enough steps down where it would count as a completed pass, fumble. So Auburn got lucky there, but Auburn has to be more careful, and they can't run the ball so much. They can't rely on their running backs because they don't have the best running backs. In case they had someone like Cameron Petway or Kerryon Johnson, something like that, they could rely on the run game. So that's my main things about Auburn, but their defense has been pretty good this year.
All right. And then also I wanted to bring in just a little bit of some stats from the game, just so that y'all can get an idea how this game went. When it comes first downs, it's pretty even. 16-14 Texas A&M. Third down efficiency, Texas A&M was 5 of 12 to Auburn 3 of 15. Fourth down efficiency, Texas A&M never went for it. Auburn was 1 for 2. But here's the big thing that really makes you understand
Yardage.
the game,
Yardage.
the total yards of the game. A&M, they doubled Auburn. A&M had 402, Auburn had 200. Passing wise, A&M 193 to Auburn 56.
Auburn's offense was terrible.
Yeah,
Terrible.
Auburn was 9 of 23 passing the football to 15 of 25 for A&M. When you look at the run game, A&M 209 to 144. So when you look at the stats, and I mean, A&M turned the ball over one time. Auburn never turned the ball over. But Auburn just they couldn't get anything going. And time of possession, Auburn even won the time of possession here. So it is, but it's penalties as well. Penalties, Auburn had 10 for 64. A&M had 7 for 50. So there was a couple things you can see there that just derailed the rest of the game for Auburn.
And
So
something to add on to that, Auburn actually was keeping this game pretty contested until Texas A&M starting quarterback got hurt and never played the rest of the game. But the backup came in and he was better than the starter, and that's where Auburn just lost them pretty much.
And I think that is the thing, is that Auburn did not game plan to have to play a backup, which Max Johnson was the backup for A&M. He actually, if you go back and look throughout the past few years, he did start for LSU when he was at LSU for a couple games, and then he transferred into A&M. He started a couple games last season, but Connor Wickman, of course, won the job this season for A&M. So that's a little bit of behind the, that's just a little bit about Max Johnson, the backup for A&M. So now, though, it's time to preview Georgia and Auburn. And Derek, when you look at this game, what do you see has got to happen?
Auburn has to get the offense going, number one. Auburn cannot have a lousy run game. Auburn has to get over 200 yards at least. I would prefer, they would prefer over 300 yards. And Auburn's number four, Auburn's defense has to hold Brock Bowers and get pressure on the quarterback, Carson Beck. That's my top four. Auburn, and they are in a big game here, and they're going against the country's number one, and social media says they're not number one, but we can tell that whenever they start playing later, and Georgia starts playing in the later of the year, and this is Georgia's, I think, first test in a big rivalry game. Kind of. So everybody saw how South Carolina's game went, and weren't they playing at Georgia in the South Carolina game?
Yes, they're playing at home.
This is Carson Beck's first away game, so that might affect Georgia a little bit. And in case Auburn can stop Brock Bowers, something might be able to happen for Auburn because Brock Bowers is a NFL type of tight end. I think everybody is gonna try to get him as fast as they can. Pretty much, probably a first round pick in the NFL draft. I would think, case he keeps on having good seasons. So I think Auburn is going to have a great game to be able to beat them. And Peyton Thorne, all I got to say for Peyton Thorne, in case he was in the NFL, I'd fire him this second. Because Peyton Thorne is a terrible quarterback, and Robbie Ashford has more experience than Peyton Thorne, and Peyton Thorne is y'all can tell I don't like Payne Thorne anymore because everybody thought, oh, Payne Thorne's going to be the restart of the season for restart for Auburn. Well, they were wrong because Payne Thorne is a terrible quarterback.
Well, the only thing I will say about Ashford is that I think one reason why Hugh Freeze went with Peyton Thorne is because he's got more to give when it comes to passing the football. Originally is what I think he was going for, because I don't think Robbie Ashford is really that incredible throwing it. So I think that had to do with it in a way.
But Robbie Ashford, I know, is not a throwing quarterback, but he is a good running quarterback. And Peyton Thorne could not get out of the pocket whenever Texas A&M pressured. He didn't even try to throw the ball away. That's one thing Robbie Ashford did better. One thing Bo Nix did better. Why did Auburn get rid of Bo Nix? Everybody is saying because Bo Nix was still a good quarterback, and he was still a good quarterback. He was better than Robbie Ashford, better than T.J. Finley, and way better than Peyton Thorne.
Yeah. So, of course, we will see how this game today between Auburn and Georgia goes. And then now, for the last few minutes, we have our SEC wraparound game picks. And so we begin with Georgia and Auburn. Derek.
Go Bulldogs. I'm going Georgia over Auburn in this game because Auburn. I don't see Auburn pulling this game out.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. I think Georgia's too good for Auburn. And I just have this feeling like Georgia, they haven't opened the full playbook yet. So today is the day for Georgia to do it. And they're going to play an incredible game against Auburn today on the road. So I'm going to go Georgia. All right, coming up at 11 a.m., Florida and Kentucky. Derek.
I want you to pick this one first to see what you pick.
Well, I was going to let you go ahead because, just to get an idea of what you think.
That's what I was doing about you.
Well, either way, you got to go ahead. So,
boo. So I guess I'll go Florida in this game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Kentucky. Kentucky's playing at home. I just have this feeling like Kentucky. I think Kentucky wins this game, and Florida, of course, their one road game against Utah, they looked awful. So I got to go Kentucky. Home field matters. So we'll see.
But look at the records. I have a better record than you, so.
Hey, but you never know. Never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Either way, here we go. LSU and Ole Miss.
I'm having a hard time picking this one, but I think not Ole Miss, LSU's going to win.
LSU's going to win this, and after the way Ole Miss played last Saturday against Alabama, I I think this will be a shootout because I don't believe LSU's defense is going to be able to play as great. But I got to go LSU in a shootout. All right. Our final game, Texas A&M and Arkansas playing in Arlington, Texas in Jerry World. Derek, where are you going with this one?
So they're playing at Texas A&M, right?
No, this game is actually being played on a neutral site in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. I thought I heard something like that, but I think it's gonna be Arkansas with the win in this game.
Okay. Yeah, I gotta go Texas A&M in this one, especially if, and I think the big thing is if Connor Wigman plays, which I'll get that for college football wraparound. Y'all will get that information, but I gotta go A&M, especially if Connor Wigman plays. All right, so I want to thank Derek for coming on, and so we're gonna go to commercial break, and then it's our new segment, State of College Football. We'll be back in a moment. And welcome back to SBN College Football Saturdays. And what we have right here for you is a recording, which is being recorded here on a Friday night for you on Saturday afternoon. And so what we're doing here is a segment called The State of College Football. So what we're going to do here is we got 3 teams that we're kind of highlighting each week, and we're going to go in depth with them and talk about what we've seen so far. So far we've got 3 teams to talk about tonight, and that is Alabama. We're going to talk about Texas, and then we're going to talk about Notre Dame, and then at the end, Jack's going to give his game picks. So stick around for the entirety of this show. So let's go ahead. So Jack, how are you?
Been doing good, Cooper. How about you?
Pretty good, pretty good. So to begin with, let's start with Alabama.
Alabama.
What so far through the first, well, technically 5 weeks, but through the first 4 games of the season for Alabama, what have you seen from them so far?
They're still a good team, but it's not to the same standards that what you we expected the years through with Coach Saban. Not quite the superstar talent. Quarterback play not very good. Offensive line play have been really good. It's been struggled a lot. But I'll say the biggest thing goes the defense has been a lot better this year than it's been in the last several years. Probably since maybe 2015, last time the defense has been this really good, physical, aggressive defense. So, I mean, that side of the ball has been very, very good. Special teams is good. Kicking, probably got the best kicker in America, most consistent one. So, but obviously the problem starts out with the quarterback. Having better play, better decision making. He's made some 3 or 4 bad plays. Well, in fact, cost them, I won't say cost them a game in Texas, but really hurt them really bad in Texas, the timing of the turnovers. There was an interception against Ole Miss, which fortunately didn't really hurt them too bad, but when they play later on in the year, if he keeps playing like this, it will eventually hurt him. But the offensive line played better this past week. I think Tyler Booker was finally back. He'd been hurt. He played in South Florida. So I think him coming back, I think they'd rotate some more of the linemen this coming week. So I think the line should get a lot better. The play calling's been a little. People been griping about it. But I mean, all now they're still 3-1. So I mean, they got problems. They get things they can work out pretty easily, I would think.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, it starts with the quarterback, and then how does the offense altogether play? And really, I think the big thing here is if Alabama's offensive line can stay healthy all throughout the year, that's the big thing. That I feel like if the offensive line's healthy and if you can get the run game going each week, then that's the key as far as the offensive side of the ball. But defense, I mean, I think you would agree with me on this, that this year it's going to have to be the defense. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I agree. They've been a lot better this year on defense. I mean, I'm sorry, to go from that. But no, it's definitely been a lot more aggressive, which is probably one of the main things. The defensive backs play a lot better. They don't really see many turnovers. They didn't really cause many, but I mean, you're getting they're doing blitz, and Dallas Turner's been showing what kind of talent he is. You're looking at probably top 15 pick next year. Probably the first player from Bama to be drafted this year would be him. And he's kind of showing where the people kind of didn't realize how good he was last year because of Will Anderson. But you had him, Chris Braswell. You had 2 or 3 really good pass rushers that didn't really show last year because of where they played. A lot of scheme-wise where they played, where they put them back in coverage a lot more. Where this year, Kevin Steele being new defense coordinator, is more they're going after quarterback more, and they really went after Ole Miss Saturday. And I think you'll keep seeing more of that as the year goes on. I think they had to be more aggressive. Malachi Moore plays really good, blitzing, covering. You got Kool-Aid McKinstry. Terry and Arnold's played a lot better. In fact, Lane Kiffin really bragged on him, talking about he was the one they were going to target the whole game, and he stepped up and played a really good game against Ole Miss. It's probably one of the main reasons they beat Ole Miss because they weren't able to take advantage of it like they did last year. So, all in all, the defense played a lot better. Jalen Monroe's a great talent, great athlete, not a really good passing quarterback. So that's going to be the issue. He's got to make, and it's not just a deep pass. Everybody thinks, oh, he's got this great, I can throw a deep pass. Well, that works, but you got to be able to throw the 10-yard outs, 10-yard crosses. You got to get the team to actually back up and make you respect the passing game. Till that happens, teams are going to stack the box on them, make him throw it, or they're going to back up and put 8 in coverage and make him see if he can read the defense. So he will be the key. But with that all being said, also we go to Tommy Reese as offensive coordinator. You can scheme stuff up where they do more of the run pass option, RPOs. They can do more of that, which is more. It's more like Milroe's more like we call him a poor man KJ Jefferson, big athletic quarterback, not really great passer. Great arm, got all that, but he's not the passing quarterback. Where if you watch Arkansas in years past, KJ Jefferson's not the greatest passer, but a great athlete. He can run the ball more. Want to be not comparing them, but back in the Cam Newton type of quarterbacks. There's more athletic, big guys. That's where Jalen Monroe's at. So I mean, but all these problems, and they still a couple plays here and there. They beat Texas, they're undefeated. They're ranked in the top 3 or 4, and we talk about them being playoff team. So I mean, with the standard Nick Saban's put in Alabama, it makes it hard for them to people really can fuss about them, gripe, all this and that. But at the end of the day, there's plenty of teams in America would take what Alabama's got right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So speaking of Milroe, just as a general question, because we did see him get benched for the USF game. Do you see a scenario where you go through any portion of the season, the rest of the year? Could you see Milroe getting benched again? And if so, who would be replacing him?
It's going to take some turnovers. He's going to have to really come across and really look lost. I mean, because after South Florida, when whether he was suspended, benched, there's online been debates about that. We don't know exactly what really happened. Not being down there, we don't know, but we know he didn't play. So, other than maybe injury or him just playing really bad, I don't see him getting benched. But I think if he did, it would be Ty Simpson. I think Ty Simpson They did say last week he'd have moved up to the second spot, and I think he proved himself at South Florida. I look at Ty Simpson. Here's a freshman quarterback that has issues like most 99% of freshmen do, but you could live with this if you had experienced him around him. It don't actually. For this is really bad sakes. Alabama's got a ton of 4 or 5 star players, great athletes, but you don't have just one superstar. You don't have the like the Julio Jones or the Calvin Ridley at receiver. You don't have a Derrick Henry running back that you know that a Mark Ingram. When you need, hey, I need 3 yards, they're going to get that. I need this big reception. I know I can throw the ball to Julio Jones or Amari Cooper, and he was there. They don't really have that, and that's what's really it's been different about this team. The defense, they have those players. Offense, they don't. And in fact, watching the broadcast last week, one of the announcers made a comment that there's not a skill player as far as receiver, running back, quarterback in the top 100 from Alabama. This is the first time I've ever, since Saban's been there, this could be said. And I mean, to say that, it's not to say there's not talent down there. There's a ton of talent. You just don't have that one superstar that we got. As Alabama fans, you got used to seeing. That's the problem. You don't have the one guy on offense you just know. Bryce Young last year. You need to play. He can scramble around, do what he need to, make the play. We don't. Alabama does not have that this year. That could end up being the downfall. They could end up getting a beat a game or two. Who knows? And they may win the rest of the games. It's just one of those. Talent-wise, they're good enough to beat everybody left, and they also could play bad enough to lose a couple of games. So it's you don't know from week to week.
Yep, and I guess we'll just have to see how Alabama does. Like you said, there's a lot of unknowns to this point. So turning our attention to the team that beat Alabama, Texas, so far. From seeing their first 4 games, what have you thought about Texas?
I've been impressed with them. Going Tuscaloosa, won a game, played good. Quinn Ewers has been, I think, what expected for the last couple of years. Everybody's talked him up. He's healthy. He's got himself in better shape. He seems to be a lot more serious. From what Steve Sarkisian has talked about in interviews and stuff, that Quinn Ewers is really taking it more serious. And maybe part of that might be the fact that Arch Manning's there, and he knows, hey, if you don't get it serious, I'm going to be benched for Arch Manning because I'm not saying Arch Manning's a better quarterback, but the name and the talent. So I think through what he's talked through the summer, Quinn Ewers got himself what he should be. Plus, he's draft eligible. He knows he's got to get himself ready. You're looking at, I think, one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the draft. Everybody talks about different quarterbacks, but anyway. But there again, Texas also has a ton of talent. This team, Sarkisian has recruited very well. Brought guys in from transfer portal. Got a couple guys from Bama's come across. Receiver from Georgia. So he's winning. Got good guys out of transfer portal. They've all meshed. The big question for them, they'll beat Alabama. They turn out next week. I believe it was Wyoming they were playing, right?
Right.
And they struggled. It was a close game today, but they pulled away. This week they play Kansas. They should beat Kansas. But Texas, this will be the week. You also got Oklahoma next week. So this may be tested Saturday because are they mature enough to actually handle being a favorite? You're playing a ranked team. You got this big rival game next week. This is a big game. Cooper was going like, oh, it's Kansas football, but Kansas has got a very good quarterback. And they've been known. They beat Texas, 2 years ago? I think they beat Texas.
Yep.
So, Texas should win this game. I think should win easily. But this, I'm not saying they're going to get beat, but this is going to be one of those. But also, one thing I do like about Texas is their line, their offensive and defensive line, big physical guys, and I like their coaches. One defensive line coach, you coached at Alabama, has got that same mentality. A guy named Bo Davis, has a reputation not good as far as recruiting different stuff, but as far as on the coach, this is one of the better defensive line coaches you can have. And you got Sark as calling the plays. Texas should be a playoff team, pure talent. But I'm just not sold. I'm afraid they're going to blow a game somewhere else. I mean, it may be next week. Them Oklahoma plays next week. You never know. So, but I like them though.
Yeah, I guess that is the question. Like, I guess if it is a game that Texas could drop, and maybe it is this Kansas game, because we've seen teams in the past who have this big win early in the season, and then they turn around midway through the season and they have that game where they lose a game they probably shouldn't lose.
Right.
And so it's going to be interesting because, like you said, Kansas, I think Texas has to respect Kansas because Kansas has a quarterback that is very mobile, like you said, who can make plays. Kansas, if they're given the opportunity, I think Kansas could really give Texas some trouble.
Yes.
So as far as
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you, but I will say as far as Texas, I think they'll take Kansas serious. Kansas ranked, what you got to look for is later in the year when they get into, I'm not sure, like BYU or Cincinnati, somebody that they're just like, oh, this is not the team, That's when you got to watch them. That's when they usually slip up. There's these games. Oh, I mean, Kansas 2 years ago. There's no way Kansas should have beat them, but they did. That's where Texas has a problem. Or go back to, I think it was 2 years ago, they built this big lead against Oklahoma, and Oklahoma come back on them. So that, but hopefully for Texas' point of view, they're matured enough and they can handle it. And then winning Tuscaloosa, I mean, you cannot take that away from them. But there's been a few teams that's come to Tuscaloosa and beat Saban, has turned around and lost games they shouldn't have through the year. This would be a challenge for Texas because talent-wise, they're the most talented team to Big 12, should win the Big 12, but it doesn't mean they will. That's where I'm at with Texas. I'm not convinced they're going to win the Big 12.
Yeah, and folks, what he is referencing, I remember, I think it was Ole Miss years ago, but they went into Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. And then they lost, 3 or 4 games after that?
Yes, they did. Mm-hmm. Texas A&M beat them with Johnny Manziel, ended up losing. I mean, it's that pattern, It's almost like you build yourself up to win a big game, and then there's a letdown. So, but that's, I go back and forth Texas because I keep saying this team is so talented. I mean, they recruited so well. Sark's got the depth and everything, but I just keep thinking they're going to blow a game somewhere, or I shouldn't say blow a game. If Oklahoma beat them next week, that's a neutral site rival game. You never know. They both come ready to play. Oklahoma, I think Oklahoma's definitely a lot better this year than they were last year. So we have to really watch that game. If Oklahoma beats them next week, that might set them up to make a run to the, you can look at one of the two teams. If they both go in that game undefeated next week, the winner of that one could set themselves up for a playoff run. It's too much to talk about, but you don't know. We don't know. Texas, I hope, as a college football fan, when you have certain teams are good, Texas is good again. Michigan's been back good again, last year too. Where you like them or not, Notre Dame, they always get their spot. Nebraska. We talk about Nebraska so much last couple years. If they come back and start, when Matt Rule makes some a better team, then all of a sudden you got these big schools all around that are good. It makes college football a lot better, in my opinion. Now I may be totally off, but I think it makes it a lot better.
Yep. So I think there's one thing I do want to talk to you about later in the season when we get maybe next week I'll talk to you about this one, but I want to explore maybe next week about the chances of maybe Texas and Oklahoma if they were to split their matchup. Like, let's say they play twice this season, once in the regular season and then once in the Big 12 championship. Yeah. If there's a possibility that both of them could end up in the playoff. I guess we could explore that next week.
Yeah, we better talk about that later because there's so many scenarios right there I would say Texas would probably be it would depend on when you win. Like if Oklahoma won like next week, Texas come back to the championship game and beat them because Texas went to Tuscaloosa won and Twin Alabama. It's a lot to it. Obviously, Texas have a better shot at getting in. And I don't think both of them will get in. I'll just put it that way.
Okay. All right. Now, you mentioned this team, but Notre Dame, we have to talk about them. And so far, they've played 5 games. They're 4-1 at this point, and they got a primetime game coming up today.
Yes.
So, what have you seen from Notre Dame to this point in the season?
I'll be totally honest. I watched them the first week. I watched a lot last week. I hadn't watched in between games, but they're again. I think they got one of the better quarter. They got a first round draft pick quarterback, Sam Hartman. I really like him. Maybe doesn't have the strongest arm, but I like him. I think he's people. I think people in America are seeing how good a quarterback he is because being at Wake Forest for 4 years, you didn't really get to see him. He's for real. Notre Dame, I can see them winning out too, but they got a couple games on schedule. Today, they go to Duke today. This could be a real tricky game. But they're again, I don't know. I would pick Notre Dame probably to beat Duke. But the only thing is, Notre Dame's also been bad about losing big games. They hadn't really won what you call a big time game in quite a while. They beat Clemson COVID year 2020 at home, but Trevor Lawrence was not playing. So when Trevor Lawrence played the championship game, Clemson beat them. Notre Dame's made the playoffs time or two. Alabama's beat them. They haven't been competitive in championship games or the playoffs. They lost to Ohio State the last 2 years. Should have beat them Saturday. That coaching mistakes. I had, I don't, maybe you remember this or not. The last 2 plays on the goal line, they only had 10 people on the field. Hey, you only have 10 players on the field. Has not somebody not called timeout, jump offside, do something. And the funny part, and I know I'm sure you caught this. I caught this. Todd Blackledge was doing the game. He made a comment. They better watch a run. And what happened? Ohio State run right to the left side. Well, probably that level the guy was probably supposed to be at.
Yeah.
Now that being said, Notre Dame probably still should have beat Ohio State. But we're Notre Dame. I just don't trust them to win a big. They got the athletes to play with the SEC schools. But now, as far as Big Ten, they could play with them. They play Clemson, I think, 3 or 4 weeks. That should be a big matchup. That would be the game that they win the bet. If they beat Duke, they go beat Clemson, a one-loss Notre Dame team will probably get in the playoffs. Like it or not, they would probably get in the playoffs.
Yeah. And my question to you is, and I mean, you kind of already spoke about this, but the coaching, and like you said, the last 2 plays, they're on the goal line. They only have 10 players.
Right.
Do you think that, let's say, if Notre Dame misses the playoff and if they lose another game, do you think that the responsibility rests fully on Marcus Freeman and that coaching staff?
Well, for that play, he pays the ultimate price because he's the head coach. But ultimately, somebody up in the booth, a player, somebody got to count the players. Hey, coach, we're 1 short. Call timeout. There's somewhere along the line. It's not necessarily he's going to catch it because you got 10, 15 coaches in the booth. Somebody should have counted it. Okay. And also, though, if you've seen what Marcus Freeman said and they asked him about it, they made a comment they didn't want to run somebody on the field to potentially get a penalty. Well, they're at the half-yard line. If they get a penalty, they're only moving like 2 inches. I mean, that's the stupidest excuse to make. Some of these coaches have made some stupid comments, and that was stupid. Take the penalty. You get the penalty. I don't know if maybe they didn't have a timeout. I really don't remember. But then again, I think you made the comments. We sat there watching the game. There's 3 seconds left on the clock, and Ohio State runs the football. Runs 2 seconds off the clock. How? How you run 2 seconds off the clock? That play took 2 seconds. Yeah. I mean, there's some but okay, go and say it there again. Notre Dame's a very good team. I don't think they're a playoff team. I don't think they're capable of going to beating a Ohio State, a Georgia, an Alabama. I forget they also play USC in a couple of weeks. That could be. I don't think the athletes know USC, but they can be physical with USC. But I don't see them being a playoff team. I see them maybe losing their game or 2. And I'm not convinced Marcus Freeman is this great coach as some of the people in the other media make him out to be. But ultimately, yes, you're right. He pays the price for that 10 players on the field because they're going to look at you and go, Coach, you should have known. Somebody should have let you know call timeout. I think the only head coach called timeout off the sideline or run play. They should have done something. It was
Yeah.
a bad way to end.
Yeah, especially because, I mean, there in the first half, they had a lot of mistakes, and ultimately they had a missed field goal there in the first half that, let's say they get that, they could have played for overtime. So the mistakes hurt them, and like you said, like if you get a penalty, it's only like an inch. And then how does that play at the end? I was sitting there, and 2 seconds is all that comes off the clock. There is no way that it was only 2 seconds to run that play because it takes a second to snap the ball, takes another second for the quarterback to hand it off, and then there's another second for the running back to receive it and run it into the end zone. The game should have been over at that point. So there is a lot you could say, like, hey, did Notre Dame maybe pay the refs off for getting at least another second for what was the crappiest lateral play you could have drawn up? Like, you would agree with
they
that.
pay the refs, but I mean, it's just it's what you call home cooking with the clock. It's like it's no way it should have happened. But I forgot who it was. Somebody I seen on the internet made a comment. If that play goes 2 inches shorter and Ohio State doesn't score, it's a totally different talk about. We're talking about Ohio State can't win a big game. We're talking about Notre Dame being, undefeated, and then we just took down one of the big teams, and we can sit to go see. He told y'all, you're right. We're gonna build Notre Dame up, and you're gonna hear about them so much, how great they are. They're gonna go to Duke, and they're gonna beat Duke 30 points, and we're gonna talk about Sam Hartman Heisman. One little inch just changed everything. Now as long as Notre Dame, here we go again. So I don't know. I still think they'll lose another game or two. I think USC and Clemson probably both beat them, and they'll make a nice bowl game. And Notre Dame, whatever. Then the question at the end of the year would be: is Marcus Freeman really the right guy to be leading this program?
Yeah.
I know it's on 2 years, but they don't give you no leeway. Let's see the right one.
Yeah, and I think if you watch the approach that Notre Dame had while Brian Kelly was the coach, they had, I thought, decent teams, but I don't think they really ever gave him the full resources possible to have success. But now Marcus Freeman, I think, is a totally different story that like you said, I don't know if he's really a incredible coach like a lot of people want to make him out to be.
Well, but I mean, I'm going back to that too. A lot of it's academic standards. Notre Dame, I know you wasn't around, but back in the 80s when Lou Holtz coached Notre Dame, they loosened up the standards. Now, they'll claim they did, but they did. They loosened up academic standards. He's able to bring some guys in that normally wouldn't have got in, but then it made Notre Dame. They won that championship, and he was up there every 2 or 3 times. He had Notre Dame where everybody wanted Notre Dame to be. Brian Kelly couldn't. There's no more he could have done with them. He made the playoffs, made the BCS championship game. There's no more. He made a smart move to get into a better situation for us getting talent. LSU, he'll be able to get a lot better talent, and he'll be better off down here. Not saying we're a championship, but with talent you get at LSU, Les Miles won a championship, Nick Saban's won one. You can play and win at LSU.
Yeah. All right. So now that we have about 3.5 minutes, we've got about 6 games for you to choose from. I'll pick these same coming up a little bit later here in the show. But for now, I wanted to give him Jack a chance to pick these games. So, first one being South Carolina and Tennessee.
I'll make it quick. We got a couple minutes. Tennessee. Don't lock them, but I think they win.
Yeah. All right. Our next one is USC and Colorado.
USC for about 30.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that one. Florida and Kentucky.
That's actually a tricky one, but I'm going to go Florida. I think maybe Florida's got things right. I'll go Florida.
Okay. LSU and Ole Miss.
Ole Miss is, after what happened to them Saturday, I I think they may struggle the rest of the year. I like LSU anyway, though.
Okay. Kansas and Texas.
I'm going Texas. Too much talent.
Okay. And our final one, Notre Dame and Duke.
Well, I'll put it this way. I don't like Notre Dame. I don't like Duke basketball. Duke beat Clemson earlier in the year. But I don't know. Notre Dame, or they I'll say the Ruger, but I think Notre Dame goes and wins that one.
All right. Well, that is his game picks. And so is there anything else in the next minute and a half that you would like to speak about?
Well, I just want people to enjoy college football Saturday. Enjoy the way college football is going now. But I'm trying to think. If you already announced what game you're doing tomorrow or today, I'm sorry. What are you doing?
It is going to be Oklahoma and Iowa State, and it should be either 6 or 6:30 tonight.
All right. Well, maybe I'll catch you at halftime there. I don't know because Alabama starts, and I've got to watch Alabama play. Maybe we'll catch you at halftime, and maybe our producer, maybe he'll help you out. We'll see Colton on screen with you during the Iowa State Oklahoma game. Can we see that? Can I get a look at her? I think we should get him on there, especially if they're getting beat. We really want to see him on there, don't we?
Oh boy.
It should be a good football Saturday. Everybody needs to sit back, enjoy it, enjoy your team. Hope your favorite team wins. If it's not, I hope my favorite team wins. We will see.
Yeah. Well, this has been State of College Football. We got a lot more coming here in the show. So stick around. We're going to go to commercial break, and then we'll be back with more college football coverage in just a moment. And good afternoon, as it is now the afternoon. And welcome to College Football Wraparound. So, here we go. About 43 minutes worth of college football content coming for you for the end of this show. So, we're going to look at this Texas A&M Arkansas game. We're going to look at South Carolina, Tennessee, USC, Colorado, Florida, Kentucky, LSU, and Ole Miss. So, got a lot to talk about. Colton may be joining me for the game picks here in just a little while. But, of course, a lot to get to today. And let's start out with Texas A&M and Arkansas. So we talked a little bit about Texas A&M a little bit earlier in the show. And, of course, they had a great game last Saturday against Auburn. Of course, putting up 402 yards. And then you look at Arkansas. They, of course, played a close game with LSU. So I'm going to look at their stats against LSU. And we will get some accurate information on this game. So it was 34-31 LSU last Saturday. And we look at it, first downs 26-25 LSU, third down efficiency, Arkansas 8 of 13, LSU 6 of 10, fourth downs, Arkansas 1 of 1. The total yards LSU 509, Arkansas 426. So for Arkansas, what is the key for them? Well, I think the key for Arkansas is that in this game against A&M, I think their defense has got to play good. I don't think necessarily their defense has played incredible in the big games that they've had so far. Of course, that being LSU and BYU. So the defense for Arkansas is going to have to play incredible football today for them to win. And then when you look at Texas A&M, what has got to happen? Well, I think for Texas A&M, and you know what? I did promise that I would look up the status of Connor Wigman. So let me get that real quick because that would be big for them. So he's actually out for the rest of the season. Connor Wigman, a foot injury. He has a foot injury. And this is from ESPN that I'm looking at this. So he suffered a broken bone in his foot last Saturday. And this is going to sideline him for the rest of the season. So going forward, it's Max Johnson as quarterback. So what does that say about Texas A&M? Well, the guy that you were banking on to be there the whole season, he's gone now. So if you're A&M, this is a moment where you really have a bunch of things to worry about. Max Johnson, he can do good for A&M. In this game, though, against Arkansas, I think this is an easier game for Max Johnson to be starting in against Arkansas because Arkansas's defense, I don't know how good they're actually going to do. So this is a game where we'll see how A&M's offense is going to look the rest of the season. For Arkansas, I think their offense is they're just going to have to win a shootout. At some point, they're going to have to win a shootout if you're Arkansas. And that's not the way that Arkansas wants to play. That's for sure. So looking at it, this is going to be a close game. If I had to choose a winner, which I'm not picking this game later in the day, so this is your game pick for A&M, Arkansas, from me right now. Texas A&M, I think, is going to win the game. I don't think Arkansas is going to win it. And Max Johnson, this is a game where Max Johnson can play good. Now, later in the season when they've got Alabama, that's going to be hard for A&M, especially since you don't have your star quarterback Connor Wigman. So we'll see how this game goes. But I've got to go with Texas A&M in this one. I think they're just too good for Arkansas. So now, shifting our attention to South Carolina and Tennessee. Now, after I talk about this game, we're going to go into game picks. I mean, not game picks. Sorry. I am way behind on things, but we're going to have you, the viewers, have a chance to ask me some questions. So if there's anything you want to ask, that'll be your chance. 10:28 to 10:33. So, so you give me a second. All right. So, South Carolina and Tennessee. And I'm just going to look up some stats overall. And we're going to start with South Carolina. The big thing for South Carolina this season is that South Carolina, their offensive line has not really been incredible so far. And playing against Tennessee. Now, I don't think Tennessee's got the most impressive defense. But see, you have to give your quarterback time because looking at it, they are a predominantly like they run the ball, but it's more about the passing game than it is about the run game. So, if we look at some stats for South Carolina, Spencer Rattler's leading passer for the team, of course, because he's a starting quarterback. 95 of 128 for 1,242 yards so far, passing the football. He's got a 74% completion percentage. He's thrown 7 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. So not bad so far early in the season. The 2 interceptions, of course, hurt, but not terrible. You look at the run game, Anderson, their running back, leads them with 34 carries, 129 yards, and he has a touchdown on the season. Joyner, 38 carries, 99 yards, 4 touchdowns. Spencer Rattler's carried the ball 32 times for 64 yards and a touchdown. So that's just what a little bit about their run game. Their leading receiver, Leggett, he's got 27 receptions, 556 yards, 3 touchdowns. Knox, their tight end, 10 receptions, 113 yards, touchdown. Lewis, another receiver, 9 for 120. Blake has got 8 for 106 and a touchdown. Doty, he's got 8 receptions for 95 yards and a touchdown. He's actually a quarterback. So it's actually neat to see. So the list goes on and on for South Carolina, but it's going to have to be that pass game. And how much time does Rattler have to sit and throw? Like, that's big. And then, real quick, I'm going to get some Tennessee stats for you. And so we'll see how they are doing. Now, I will say with Tennessee, they are a fast-paced offense. So, of course, that's going to be interesting because they're more about the pass. If I can find some stats for them. Either way, so I get it pulled up for you. So far, passing yards, Joe Milton's got 925 passing yards. Wow, that's bad. But so far, Joe Milton, 925 passing yards. He's thrown 8 touchdowns so far. As far as rushing yards, Jalen Wright leads with 312. Rushing touchdowns, Dylan Simpson's got 5 touchdowns on the ground. Receiving yards, Ramel Keaton is the top receiver, 205 yards so far to the season. He also leads with receiving touchdowns with 3. So that's a little bit about Tennessee. So this game, it's going to be big on who plays. And I mean, I think it's going to be big. It's Tennessee's defense against that offensive line of South Carolina. That's the key there. So that's what it would. If you watch that game today, then that's what you need to watch for. Is that right there? All right. Now we get to the part of the show where you, the viewers, have a chance to ask me any question that you have regarding college football. So if you have any questions, now until 10:33 is your opportunity to ask me anything about college football. So this is your chance, folks. Of course, after this, I'm going to be talking about USC and Colorado. Then we're going to talk about Florida and Kentucky. Then we're going to talk about LSU and Ole Miss. And then it's game picks time. And Colton will join me for that here a little bit later in the show. So if you have anything at all you want to ask me regarding college football, this is your chance. So, if you have been wanting to ask me something, this is your opportunity, folks. So don't let it pass you by. Here is your chance. Of course. Okay, here we go. Will Texas beat Oklahoma? And he also says, be honest. Yes, I think Texas will end up beating Oklahoma at the end of the next week. I just feel like they've played some incredible football if you're Texas. And so I think Texas will get the win. Of course, we can have more questions. If you have anything else you want to ask, this is your chance. If they rematch in the Big 12 championship, who will win? Oh, to be honest with you, it would be, I think Texas gets the regular season, Oklahoma gets the Big 12 championship. Because you don't ever really see a team win twice in the same season if they have a chance at playing twice. For instance, like Auburn and Georgia a couple years ago, I think Auburn won the regular season. Georgia came back in the SEC championship and won. So that was interesting right there. So that's just a little bit of interesting information. And then he says, good answer. All right. Any more questions? Of course, here in a little bit, we're going to talk about USC, Colorado, Florida, Kentucky, LSU, Ole Miss, and then we got our game picks. So, give you all a few more minutes. Got any more questions you want answered? And, all right. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and go to, here we go. Never mind. Is Kansas a top 25 team in your opinion? Oh, speaking of my rankings, that'll be coming back tomorrow. This past week was just really busy, so I did not take any chance to get my rankings out to y'all, but I will get some more rankings out Sunday. Depends on if they beat Texas today. If they beat Texas, they're one of the top 25 teams in the country. All right. So now I'm going to go to commercial break, and then I will come back to talk about what I have left. So stick around, everybody. All right, everybody, welcome back. Now it's time to talk a little bit about USC and Colorado. Of course, Colorado coming off of their just thumping they had. Oregon gave them 42-6. Oregon beating Colorado up there in Eugene, Oregon. Of course, USC still undefeated after their win on the road at Arizona State. So this game's interesting because if you are Colorado, not only are you going to this game without Travis Hunter, you're going into it without Shiloh Sanders. Here is the thing that's really gotten me. go look at the injuries that these Colorado players are having compared to what you normally see in football. These are injuries that I never just, I mean, it's very interesting for sure. I don't think I've ever really seen it much at all. So it is interesting. But for this game, what's got to happen? Well, I think USC's offense has got to play really good. Now, I think this game will be closer than what it was with Oregon, because Oregon's defense, I think, played just an absolutely incredible game. But the thing is, I don't believe USC's defense is all that great. So, of course, what do I see from this one? Well, to be honest with you, I think this is a game where you see a team like USC. Their offense just plays a great game like they have been. Caleb Williams plays a great game. And when you look at Colorado, I don't think their defense is going to be able to stop USC. And for that matter, I don't think Shedeur Sanders and that Colorado offense can do anything at all. So that's going to be the key here, because I think USC will pretty much just outscore Colorado. I think this is a game where you could see like USC, a big time USC win, or it could be close. If I had to put a score on it, USC it'd probably be like a USC 49-35, something like that. I think that's what you're going to see from this game. I just don't believe Colorado has what it takes to beat USC. And the thing that makes me so mad about the way Colorado is perceived by the media is that they beat TCU, they beat Nebraska, they beat Colorado State, and everybody's going crazy because Colorado's the best team in college football. But then they get beat to Oregon, they're like, oh, we never said that. We just said that this was just, just the first year of Deion Sanders. It's not really, you're never that good when your first season. That's the thing that makes me mad, because people just want to sit there and make excuses for why Colorado shouldn't be that great this year. And I'm like, seriously, these people are idiots. I'm just being honest with you. So, Colorado, yes, I already knew this is what they were going to do this season. As far as if they were to beat TCU, I thought this would not be that great of a year. I thought at best, not good at all for Colorado. So we'll see what happens in this game today between USC and Colorado. But either way. Let's move on to Florida and Kentucky. Now, Florida, of course, is coming in 3-1. One of those wins being Tennessee at home. And Kentucky comes in undefeated, coming off of I believe, 45-28 win over Vanderbilt. So, very interesting game here today between Florida and Kentucky. So, I look at this one, and it's interesting because this is a game where I think that this is where Kentucky needs to make their statement and really show, because they haven't really played anybody yet besides, Vanderbilt is okay. They're not great. But this is the moment that Kentucky really needs to come out and put a whipping on Florida. Because Florida, in my opinion, they're an okay team, but not incredible. And I think home field advantage is a big thing here in the SEC. So I think Kentucky's got to use the advantage of being at home while also, I feel like this is a game that they've got to really just play incredibly. And as long as they do those two things, and then their defense has just got to get to that offensive line of Florida. Florida's offensive line, I don't believe, is incredible either. And the last time Florida went on the road was the first game of the season. We had it here on Saver Broadcast Network, and Florida didn't play that good. And so this has got to be a game where Kentucky plays a lot like Utah, play good enough defense and good enough offense to beat Florida. I think that's all you got to do. For Florida, you just got to play incredible football and, play the way you did against Tennessee. Put up points and play good defense. As long as you do that, you got the win here. So, very simple. And then we talk about LSU and Ole Miss. What do we see from this game? Well, LSU's offense is going to be big in this one. LSU, since that Florida State game, I believe they said that they've been averaging 500 yards per game. They got to do that again against Ole Miss. Because this Ole Miss team, I don't think their defense is necessarily that great. And Ole Miss is really one of those teams that they look good their first 3 games, and they ran into Alabama, and Alabama just humbled them. That's just my opinion. And they only put up 10 points against Alabama. Now, this game is going to be closer than what I think a lot of people may expect. I think this is a game where if you're Ole Miss, you should have a chance near the end. And so when I look at LSU Ole Miss, I just see a game that's going to be a shootout. Both defenses really aren't going to show up, in my opinion. And, depending on who wins, it's just going to be very interesting to see how this one ends up. So, LSU and Ole Miss, this is a shootout that is going to happen, folks. It's quite obvious it's going to be a shootout. Ole Miss's offense, though, they're definitely, if they played the way that they should, they're definitely good enough. But then again, they didn't play great against Alabama. So we'll see what happens with this LSU Ole Miss game. And so let me, real quick, we're going to go to commercial break, and then it'll be time for game picks. So we'll be right back. All right, everybody. Also, one thing I forgot to mention, of course, that's the game picks. We'll get into that a bit later. I don't know why this is giving me a hard time, but we'll get into those game picks a little bit later. Colton will join me in just a second, but I forgot about the answers to our questions for today. We got 3 of them. So first one was, what was the final score of the 2019 Auburn-LSU game? LSU won 24-21. What year was Auburn Stadium built? November 9th, 1939. 1939, November 9th. And then who leads the Auburn-Georgia series? Georgia leads it 63, 56, and 8. So now it is time for Colton to come on. So let me. So of course he is getting himself set up. I'm gonna pull the slide back up if he wants to come on in. So I'm gonna see if I can get this slide to work. There we go. There we go. All right. Okay, Colton is muted real quick. So all right. How are you today, Colton?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing pretty good. All right. So as you can see, here on the right of your screen, if you're watching live, there is our game pick records. Now, Jack did his during state of college football. So of course we will get that tallied up a little bit later. Tomorrow after all the games are over. So Colton, how did you like last week?
I didn't really watch a lot of the games, but I watched my Sooners get the win. Which, I mean, anytime Oklahoma wins, I'm happy. So, and then the Alabama game was okay. Could have been better, but I'm not complaining. We got the win. A win's a win.
Also, me and Colton will sit down at some point and discuss whether or not he's going to join me tonight for Oklahoma and Iowa State. So that's something to watch for a little bit later. So here we go. It is time for some game picks, the last 14 minutes of the show. And it starts with South Carolina and Tennessee. Colton, where are you going on this one?
So I'm gonna go with Tennessee here. I know they lost last week to a team who's probably worse than South Carolina, but I think Tennessee, Josh Heupel, I think they're not gonna lose 2 in a row. I think Josh Heupel's too good of a coach for that. I don't like Tennessee, but it's whatever. I'm gonna pick who I think's gonna win.
Yeah. And what he's talking about is a couple weeks ago when Florida beat Tennessee. Last week, Tennessee beat UTSA. So that's just for some. Yeah, you're good. You're good. Just clarifying for the viewers. I'm okay. Original opinion. I have to state that now, but I got Tennessee because I don't think South Carolina's offensive line is going to protect Spencer Rattler good enough in this game. And that's what killed them in their 2 losses so far. So I don't think there's any change. Tennessee will win the game. All right. Our next one is USC and Colorado. Colton.
Who in Colorado? Sorry.
USC.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Oh, yeah. USC's going to win this. Colorado has no chance. This is going to be like 27-3.
Okay.
27-6.
Yeah, I've got USC as well. And as far as the score, I honestly think this is like 49-35 because I don't believe USC's their defense is going to play good enough against Colorado, but their offense will put up enough points that it won't even matter. So 49-35, I think, is a pretty accurate score for this game. Okay. Next one is Florida and Kentucky.
Okay, I got Florida here. I like both these teams a lot. These are 2 of my favorites. But honestly, I have to pick Florida. They beat Tennessee. They're just overall the better team.
All right. I gotta go Kentucky. I think Kentucky playing at home. You got Devin Leary as your quarterback. I just don't believe Florida can go on the road at Kentucky and beat Kentucky. That's just my opinion. Of course, like I said during the pregame, earlier in the show, is that Florida, when they went on the road at Utah, they didn't play great. So I don't expect it to be any different. So I'm going to go Kentucky in this game. All right. LSU and Ole Miss. Where are you going on this, Colton?
I'm gonna go with LSU here. after how Ole Miss played against Alabama. I mean, neither team played well, but I just think LSU is the superior team here.
All right. Yeah, I gotta go. I gotta go LSU. LSU to me, they got too good of an offense. Ole Miss, they'll play a close game against LSU. I think that's what you're going to see. But LSU in the long run, they're going to win this game. So, all right, a game that I don't know how you're going to go in this one, but coming up 2:30 today over on ABC, Kansas and Texas.
I hate both these teams with a passion, but I'm going to pick Kansas because I believe in them.
Yeah, I got to go Texas. After the way that they played against Alabama, and I know they've struggled a little bit after that. I think Texas gets the win. They've got a lot of talent, as Jack
Listen,
said.
You give up
And-
10 points to Wyoming.
Well, I still think Texas is the better team. You can't
They're
take away
not.
the fact that they went to Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. I mean,
That was rigged.
either way, I got Texas in the game. All right. Our final game pick is Notre Dame and Duke. Colton.
I have to go with Duke here, I guess. I don't know. I'll pick Notre Dame. But I'm not really. I don't like this game very much. I feel like Duke is the better team, but I feel like Notre Dame's gonna have more on their side. So
All right. Yeah, I got to go Notre Dame. I think they bounce back in a big way and get the win here. That's what I see. All right, that is our game picks. You see to your right the records. We'll see how it changes throughout the week. Of course, tonight we've got Oklahoma and Iowa State. Me and Colton will discuss whether or not he comes on tonight. So that'll be something if that does happen. Well, that is all we've got for college football wraparound today. We want to thank y'all for watching. Anything else you want to talk about, Colton, before we end?
go Sooners.
All right. With that, that is college football wraparound. We will see you again later tonight. Goodbye, everybody.